Hello and welcome. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Steph.
And we are your hosts for the Star Trek Deep Space Nine Parmach cast.
Parmach, of course, being the Klingon word for love.
Because on this podcast, we believe that love will save the world.
And that the Deep Space Nine crew are all in a massive polyamorous relationship web.
That too. Welcome back, everyone, to episode 10 of the Parmach cast.
Double digits, baby.
The Nagus.
The
We were
Nagus.
discussing today. Season 1, episode 10, or 10-ish, depending on how you look at the numbering of Deep Space Nine. How you doing today, Steph?
I'm doing all right. It's the first day of Pride Month, baby.
Woo, woo, which it obviously will not be when you're listening to this, but you can enjoy the remnants of our excitement, which is very exciting for you. It's also the day that we are dropping the first episode of this podcast in our feed.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting for us, although, again, for you guys will seem a little strange because you've been listening to 10 of these so far.
I mean, if Deep Space Nine is about anything, it's about non-linear time.
That's so true.
Really, it makes sense.
We're just speaking to you from a few weeks before you're going to be listening to this.
We are
so-
essentially just speaking Bajoran woo-woo.
Tell us what stocks to buy is basically the thesis here. This was a fun episode, I thought. I enjoyed it. Yeah, what'd you think, Steph?
Let me gather my thoughts. I don't know if I want to talk about this till after the
No, go
recap,
ahead.
or-
Give it.
I am not a huge fan of the Ferengi episodes. I'll be
Okay.
totally honest.
That's so fair. I feel like they are very polarizing.
They're divisive, yeah. And like I like that we get a little sort of like break from, the drama and intensity.
lifting us where suffering cannot reach.
Lifting us
Yeah.
where suffering cannot reach and powering your city on a child.
Uh-huh.
But I'm also just kind of like, I don't hate them, but I'm like,
What is it for you? What's your thorn in your foot in a Ferengi shape?
I don't think they're that funny.
Oh, okay. The episodes themselves?
The episodes themselves. Armin Shimmerman is always like, his comedic timing is excellent.
Uh-huh,
He's
uh-huh.
always a star. Max Grodenchik as well. I'm sure I
Uh-huh.
just butchered the pronunciation of that.
We'll look that up at some point.
Yeah. But yeah, the Ferengi as a species never grew on me.
Yeah, I think that there is like a difficulty to the Ferengi as a species where it's like you always want to use them for comedy, but also they are this like allegory or critique of like very dark, fucked up stuff about like us and our society.
Yeah.
And that can be a little hard to square sometimes, for sure.
Yeah.
And
then we touched on this a little bit in our pilot episode, but like the anti-Semitic tropes just really, I don't know, maybe I'm just a killjoy, but I'm like, it feels icky.
No, that's so fair. I mean, I think too, like, this is our first like big Ferengi focused episode, and I think some more of that like rears its ugly head in this one for sure, especially because we're like focusing on like, the business practices and all of that. There's just stuff that like feels a little I definitely think that's fair. I am sort of embarrassed to circle back now to the fact that I feel like I enjoyed this episode, but I do think that there's a lot that works, and that's like the tension of it, right? And I think that's a tension that will permeate most of the Ferengi focused episodes, if memory serves. And I'm excited to sort of explore that tension as we move forward. Our flavor of episode here is pretty straightforward. It's our first sort of fun with the Ferengi. Quark gets audited. We're very focused in on the Ferengi players, and our Starfleet characters are much more of the supporting cast. I mean, I think Kira gets a single line in this episode, which tragedy for
Always
me
tragic.
personally.
I was about to say that's a tragedy, a travesty,
Mm-hmm.
a travesty, a I'll stop.
There's a pun in there somewhere that maybe we will discover in another lifetime.
Or portmanteau that would work, but we have to move on.
So, anything else you want to cover before we dive into our recap and discussion?
Let's jump into it.
All right, okay. So, today's episode, as we said, The Nagus, directed by David Livingston, teleplay by Ira Stephen Bear, who, if you're familiar with Deep Space Nine, is a very important figure in the show's history, and we'll get into that more later. Release date, March 21st, 1993, a Sunday. Mm-hmm. We open on the interior of the docking ring, where an airlock opens and a Ferengi, unfortunately not played by Jeffrey Combs, emerges and surveys the area. Satisfied, he gestures and a hunched-over, cloaked figure emerges, leaning on a taller, raisin-faced humanoid, clutching a staff with a golden Ferengi head. And I just had, is it just me, or does Mehardu, which is the name of the raisin character, look like Fiona Shaw here? Specifically, Marva Andor Fiona Shaw. And now I just really want to see a 66-year-old Fiona Shaw as Mehardu. I think that would have been great.
That's so valid. She's an amazing actress. I'd really watch that. I just love this start. It's like the robes, the staff.
We know we're getting high drama. Yeah.
Meanwhile, in the Cisco's quarters, Jake is getting ready for school, gathering his many armfuls of pads when Benjamin enters.
And is it just me, or is this jumpsuit not only not bad, but actually quite nice looking?
It's a good one.
The natural looking greens are great. Good for you, Jake. You picked something out of the replicator that's not a mess.
It's called fashion.
We're all very proud. Ben tells Jake that the two of them are going to be going to Bajor for the upcoming Gratitude Festival, Peldor Joy, which is the biggest Bajoran holiday of the year. Afterwards, he says they can visit the fire caverns, which Jake had been wanting to see. And I got slightly tripped up writing this because I thought I had written fire caves wrong, but no, they just aren't called that yet. And
we'll get to that later. I just want to note, I love when Jake's like scrambling through all his stuff, he pulls out a baseball mitt and ball.
Truly his father's son. Yeah.
Truly.
Jake is excited, but when Ben tells him that they'd be leaving that day after school, his interest level sort of visibly plummets. He explains that he and Nog have plans for the following day to watch an incoming shipment of those new anti-grav tractors, which fucking nerds.
I really love the like parent-tween dynamic here. It's so real.
Yeah, when Jake is like, oh, do I have to go?
And Ben's like, well, no. Not if you don't want to.
Yeah, he thought that this would be an exciting thing.
Yeah.
Like, he was not trying to make him tag along on something that wasn't going to be fun for him.
Yeah.
But you could tell how sort of, if not hurt, at least caught off guard he is by the fact that this is not something that his son's like, hell yeah, let's go.
Or he was like, hell yeah, let's go, until it conflicted with his plans with Nog.
Yeah.
I also think it's hilarious because Ben has a line like, oh, you don't want to go to Bajor with the old man? And like, it's funny to me, one, because that's what he calls Dax all the time. And two, it feels kind of dated now because people don't really call their fathers that anymore.
Oh, that's funny. I hadn't thought of that. But yeah, that's true. I feel like it's more of like a jokey kind of thing now, which it sort of is there. But like, yeah, that is something that people used to like unironically call their parents, which I'm like, I don't have children, but if I did and they called me that, I'd be like, how old do you think I am? Yeah, let's... Anyways, in the bar, Quark is berating Rom over a comment filed by a customer, which was that a young woman who lost a purse full of money, which Rom found and in turn returned to her intact. Quark forces Rom to recite the first rule of acquisition, which he gives: once you have their money, you never give it back. And I just liked how he sort of says that in like a little like metered kind of rhythmic way that feels like he learned it as like part of a nursery rhyme or something.
Probably was.
Yeah. I just thought that was like a fun little world building detail. And then Quark tasks him with polishing every rail in the bar as punishment. Quark also has a line here where he refers to Rom as tiny lobed. And I first just thought it was sort of like an insult because they're always like talking at each other about their ear size like they dick sizes. And I just sort of noticed here for the first time that Rom's ear prosthetics are a good bit smaller than Quark's. And I just think that's an interesting bit of like, for lack of a better term, like anthropological costume design, where Quark is like the alpha in this relationship and so has the larger lobes. And I'm curious if that'll stay consistent because it was a nice little detail that I liked.
Yeah. This is our first Rom with his voice.
Like, oh, yes. Yeah. His
we
very
had
distinctive.
him before, but he was just kind of generic Ferengi voiced. I also love that his excuse, he's like, I was dazzled by her beauty.
So
he's
fucking
such
fair.
A romantic.
So
he's
fucking
such a
fair.
Romantic. And this is also the first time we hear about the rules of acquisition.
Is it really?
It is.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So Rom runs off to find Nog, who is currently building a tower out of pads and like cups from the bar, and he accidentally knocks his tower over when his father arrives, which is very sad. Rom sort of pretends to be angry at Nog in order to pawn off his own punishment from Quark onto his son, ordering him to spend the night polishing the bar rails, and Nog just sort of sighs and heads off for school. And I just hate how Nog physically shrinks in fear around Rom. It's a really good little physical acting moment from Aaron Eisenberg, but it's just painful to like
sad,
watch. Yeah.
Meanwhile, on the promenade, not Jeffrey Combs and Fiona Shaw are holding the mysterious cloaked figure on either side, helping him walk down the hall. In the bar, Quark tells Morn a joke, and so the Andorian says, "Your brother, I thought it was your wife," which eventually gets a big belly laugh from Morn. It takes him a second. Behind him, the trio of strangers enters, and they announce that they're looking for Quark.
Not Jeffrey Combs introduces himself as Krax and tells Quark that he's there with his father, Grand Nagus Zek. And at this, Fiona Shaw pulls back the mysterious figure's hood to reveal Ferengi Wallace Shawn! Quark and Rom move to kiss Zek's staff and ask him if they're visiting for business or pleasure. Krax snaps that those are one and the same for a Ferengi and that my father will reveal the purpose of his visit when he sees fit.
I love the Fiona Shaw attendant dramatically pulling back the Grand Nagus's hood.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to do it himself.
It's really good.
It's just like the drama, high drama.
And if you find yourself wondering what the heck is a Grand Nagus, just know now that will never be 100% clear. He is basically the Ferengi in charge, and that's all you really need to know for now.
That really is.
I also just had the thought, Krax right here is extremely Gretchen Wieners. I don't think my father, the inventor of toaster strudel,
I don't think my father, the Grand Nagus, would be very happy to hear about this.
Hear about you questioning the purpose of his visit.
So Krax tells Quark that Zek demands the use of one of his holosuites, and that apparently his more alluring programs have a reputation.
Yikes.
Quark presents Zek with a list of his 5 favorite programs, offering to choose one for the Nagus, but Zek gives a horny laugh and opts to try all 5.
Wild to hand your president Pope a list of your favorite kinks, but all right, that's just how we do it at Quark's, I guess.
I guess. And it's very funny because like the horny laughter happens and it goes slow-mo and it's kind of menacing.
It's extremely menacing.
It's horny and menacing laughter, and then we immediately go into the theme.
I think much like Wadi, or much like Fallow and the Wadi last week, Zek does a great job towing that line between funny and menacing. And it's just like, I think if they had had a lesser actor in this role, it would not have worked as well.
But
and
Wallace Shawn
fortunately,
is like a king among men.
Yeah, the opposite of a lesser actor. And then theme song.
And we come back from the theme song, and we are in Keiko's little school on the station, where the students are all scattered around the room, laughing, talking. Miles enters, apologizing for being late and asking the class to settle down. But he has to prompt Jake and Nog several times before they end their conversation and give him their attention.
I love how when he walks in, he's like explaining to the kids like why he's late. He's like, oh, I had to repair the blah, blah, blah. And he just sort of stops and is like, you don't know or care what any of that means. Let's move on, which is very relatable to when you work with children, let me fucking tell you. I also just hashtag triggered by this whole experience. But also, Miles, this is not even that bad. Calm down.
As a reminder, Jamie works with teenagers.
Yes,
so.
Specifically. So, you know, this attitude is just very my entire life all the time. Although I had, you know, Miles, calm down. This is not even that bad. But I do get it. Like, when I have to give an instruction 3 times, that is also my frustration threshold.
That's so fair. That's so fair.
So Miles explains that they only have to get through another 2 weeks with him as their substitute until Keiko gets back from Earth, which, damn, girl's been on Earth a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe 100-year-old mom had her birthday and then also died or something. feels like it would make sense.
It was a double whammy.
Right. So Miles then starts to go over the homework with them, beginning with the older student's assignment to write an essay defining the term ethics. And I just had, all right, Gene.
He's got to get those ethical quandaries
Those Roddenberry ethics in there.
And Miles chooses Nog to present his first, but Nog claims that his pad has been stolen by some Vulcans in Quarks. Nog throws Jake under the bus, saying he was there with him in Quarks, and he pressures him to say he saw the whole thing. O'Brien reluctantly agrees to let Nog hand in his essay the following day.
And O'Brien just has this phenomenal line where he goes, "You're saying Vulcans stole your homework?" And it's maybe the line of the episode. It's so
100%,
fucking good.
100%.
Also, sorry to Miles, but when Miles asks, like, why would they do that? And Nog goes, because they don't have ethics? That's extremely funny. And also shows that he understands what ethics are.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, like, probably a little deliberate there. I think it's also just kind of wild, given his characterization so far, that Nog even cares enough about this to lie and not just be like, I did not do this because I didn't want to. But I think it's kind of tied up in maybe some of the insecurities around some of the things we're going to explore later in the episode, and I find that interesting.
It's a good interesting point.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, in Quarks, the Nagus' horny laughter can be heard echoing throughout the bar from the holosuite. Quark asks Krax how long Zek was planning to use the holosuite for, but Krax tells him that his father left specific orders that he was not to be disturbed.
Yeah, I'm already sick as hell of this whiny little Nepo bitch. This is not, not working for me.
So Quark wanders down to the bar to where Rom is standing, and Rom is thrilled to have the Grand Nagus visiting.
He's so happy. It's really cute.
It's an honor. Ever the cynic, Quark tells Rom that the only reason the Nagus would have come all this way would be to take over the bar for them for a fraction of what it's worth.
Which I don't know how to tell Quark that. I just don't know that the leader of an interstellar civilization cares about your dive bar. Like, it's an interesting insight into his psychology, where it's like, this bar is all he's ever had. He built it from the ground up. Like, without it, he would be nothing. And so in his mind, it has this very inflated sense of value that...
which Quark has about himself
true,
as a person as well, to be fair.
So just then, Zek emerges from the holosuite, drinks from a beaker full of orange Gatorade, and grumbles, "Good program," in Quark's general direction. Quark offers up Rom's quarters for the Nagus to use while he's on the station, and at Zek's prompting, invites the Nagus for dinner, which the line that Quark has here where he goes, "Please feel free to use my own brother's quarters." It's so good.
I just have Wallace Shawn, How I Adore You, because
so
he's
fucking
so good.
At my college, Bennington College in southern Vermont, Wallace Shawn's brother, Alan Shawn, is a music teacher. And so he is someone that I was just like aware of that was just like on campus all the time. I never had any classes with him because I wasn't like an intense music student by any means. But his wife was my good friend Margot's piano instructor. And so whenever they would have their lessons, if it was after like a show of Margot's or like something that like people went to see, you know, Alan Shawn and his wife were very like into the arts community at Bennington and would so go and see these shows. And she would say, Margot, my husband, artist and composer Alan Shawn, loved your show on Friday. And that's just always what he was, artist and composer Alan Shawn. Yeah. And so I'm curious what Wallace Shawn is at home. Artist and actor? Actor and performer?
Artist and thespian?
Perhaps. I just have to think there's got to be a comparable title there.
Maybe only her husband gets a title.
That could be. Maybe it's like a...
It's a wife guy thing, but husband gal?
Imagine being the wife guy to the brother of Wallace Shawn, though. Like, you probably really need to prop him up.
That's true. He can probably use some moral support.
Yeah. Especially if you're someone who's like talented enough in your field that you have like a high paying professorship at a liberal arts college, blah, 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 and you're still not the more successful brother.
You're the
That's a little
known.
tricky.
Yeah. Probably
Sorry, Alan Shawn, if you're listening to this. I didn't mean it.
So, anyway, we cut to Ops where Sisko approaches O'Brien to ask him how school is going.
Which, how on earth is Miles both teaching and being the chief of operations full time? That's crazy.
I had the same thought when we were watching the first scene with him, and I didn't write it down, so I'm glad you did, because like, what?
Because Miles doesn't seem to sleep when he's just doing his own job.
Yeah, like he's always overwhelmed already, and then you're adding a full school day to this?
I was going to say, shouldn't we have like an EMH type situation that can come in and teach? That EMH, for those of you who have not seen Voyager, is emergency medical hologram. But then I was like, well, that feels like we're getting dangerously into the AI teachers thing of today. And I'm like, never mind. Moving on. Yes, have your husband do it. That's fine. We love that.
In a utopia, maybe they could have that. So O'Brien says that Jake is doing well, but suggests that Sisko find another friend for him besides Nog, who seems to be a bad influence. Sisko appreciates the advice, but points out that if Jake were forced to choose between his friend and his father, he likely would choose his friend.
Yeah.
And O'Brien finds this hard to believe, which Sisko says is because his daughter is 3 and just wait until she's 14. And the way Miles's face becomes just pure trepidation at the idea of a 14-year-old child.
Yeah,
so
and
funny.
Specifically a 14-year-old Molly.
Yeah.
Like, oh boy, he just saw the ghost of Christmas future, and
it's not pretty.
It's not pretty. I really just love like this little moment of wisdom that Sisko demonstrates here, where sort of saying, you know, that like if it becomes Nog versus me, he's going to choose Nog, like, obviously. In an episode and a story arc where we see him just really struggling with his role and his parent and child relationship to Jake, it really feels like a good reminder of just what a competent parent he is and how even the best of parents struggle. It's just part of parenthood,
That's
you know?
part of the deal, yeah.
So at dinner, Fiona Shaw tastes Zek's tube grubs for him, presumably to make sure that they're not poisoned, while Zek tells Quark and Rom all about how he ran into their cousin Barbo recently. The brothers thought Barbo was still in prison, but Zek tells them he'd been released from the Tarahog detention center, and that Zek was impressed with Quark and Barbo's sale of defective warp cores to the Tarahog government.
The table that they're sitting at has this like multi-tiered Lazy Susan, and I fucking love it.
It's fucking
so much.
sick. It's so good.
It's excellent design.
There's just so many little things happening on it, and the way that it like takes up the entire table, it's like very striking visually, in addition to just being like a fun functional thing for them to play with. I also have that noted.
Yeah. And so then Zek also brings up how Quark had left Barbo to, quote, rot behind bars while Quark kept all the profits, to which Quark quotes the 6th rule of acquisition: never allow family to stand in the way of opportunity.
A charming folk, the Ferengi.
Zek compliments Quark on his brilliance at opening a bar so close to a stable wormhole. And when Krax objects that Quark didn't even know about the wormhole when he opened the bar, the Nagus says that's what makes it so impressive, and Krax could learn from Quark's example. And I just want to we talked for a second about all the ear-related phrases.
Yeah.
I really love that bit of world building with the Ferengi.
Yeah.
Like, we have here, the Nagus is like, he had the instinct, the ears, like,
He had the
moxie.
lobes, yeah.
And then, you know, tiny lobed to Rom. There's one in a future scene that's like, well, he better show his ears soon.
Yeah.
I love that little bit of world building and the whole ear bit.
It's
good.
really fun. I agree. And the way that they pepper it throughout the dialogue, it's like it's something we're thinking about. We're not just like,
yeah,
we're not just making jokes about it. So Nog brings over a tray of instruments, and Zek chooses one to pick his teeth with. And Nog asks if he can be done and go do his homework, which shocks Zek. Krax explains to him that there's a Federation school in the station run by a human female. And in response to the Nagus' approval, Rom tells his son that he will not be attending school anymore. Zek then tells Quark that he needs his bar and his services as host for an important conference to discuss Ferengi business opportunities in the Gamma Quadrant.
Quick design note, I love their sparkly napkins.
The napkins in this scene are so good.
They're like orange and purple and glittery, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of the most beautiful fabric I've ever seen.
They
did a great job. This like go to bed and no doing your homework thing feels very the movie Matilda to me, which I liked. And then that made me feel so deeply hurt in my heart that we never have a Danny DeVito Ferengi character.
Oh, that would be so good.
Would have just been so good. Or a Rhea Perlman, any Star Trek character.
Extremely, yes.
We just were robbed.
To be fair, Danny DeVito on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is essentially kind of a Ferengi.
Yeah, that's so true.
So that's the vibe.
I also think that Zek asking Quark to use the bar here has got to be a formality at best, because he tells him, oh, the conference is here the next day at 9:00. So, like, he has invited everyone. He has made all the arrangements. Like, this is happening.
My event planning ass is like, what? You're asking, like, the night before? This is an like, people have to fly in from other planets.
Totally.
Like,
And I had the thought of, like, wow, he really is a poor event planner if he thinks he's going to be able to get this together by tomorrow. And then I was like, oh, no, he just has already planned all of this and didn't bother to ask Quark until now, which kind of a serve, honestly.
Yeah. So then we are at the next day, and in ops, Kira informs Sisko that the Ferengi transport Sapulo is docking at Bay 5, the third Ferengi ship to arrive in the last 18 hours.
And just... Nana Visitor is simply the most beautiful woman to ever live. I'm so sorry, other women. It's not...
women.
It's not a dig on you. It's just... whew, boy, God.
And Dax jokes that it might be Quark's birthday, and Kira suggests locking up the silverware. And Sisko contacts Odo to ensure the situation will be looked after. And Odo is like lurking on a balcony and assures Ben that he's already on it.
I thought that this whole moment was really funny, and like all of these were really funny jokes. But I did the locking up the silverware line. I was like, is there something anti-Semitic in there? I don't know. I'm just like, you brought it up, and now I'm feeling like we need to like make sure that we're engaging with this in a way that is responsible, and I'm just like, I'm certainly not the most qualified
Neither am I, yeah.
But there are just little things where I'm like, oh, I wonder if they were thinking about this as much as they should have been when they were writing it.
Probably not.
It's just a question I'm having.
Yeah.
So we got to Quark's, and the Dabo tables have been replaced by this very cool-looking large conference table, and a swarm of Ferengi buzz around, sort of making preparations for the conference. Krax yells at Quark for seating two bitter rivals next to one another and demands that the seating be changed, which is very, like, wedding planning, I felt like. And Morn arrives at the bar for a drink, but Quark sends him away as the conference is to be a private meeting.
Mm-hmm. Just as one of the other Ferengi, Graal, is becoming impatient and threatening to leave, the Grand Nagus enters, supported by Fiona Shaw. Rom and Nog go to leave, but Zek tells Quark to stay behind.
Out on the promenade, Jake runs into Nog, who tells Jake that he won't be attending school anymore. Jake guesses that this was Rom's decision and offers to talk to Chief O'Brien for him, but Nog snaps that school was always a waste of time for him because there was no profit in it. After yelling at Jake and calling him a stupid human, Nog storms off, which, best Nog outfit making a comeback. I did have to note that.
Yes, it's a good one. And I'm just like, no, boys, don't fight.
I know, it's sad. And I had Nog's defensiveness about this whole thing is just, it's such a paper thin facade.
Yeah.
Like, he's clearly so sad about not being able to go to school anymore. And it's so sad that he won't just let himself acknowledge that, but it's also sad that like Jake is like yelling at him about what a stupid decision that is, because like he knows that he wants to go but can't, and so he's putting up, you know, a tough front about it. Yeah. Unfortunately, the line where Jake says, "You think I'm stupid? You're the one not going to school," is a great line. And also everyone at MAGA. That's just like, well.
So back at Quark's, Zek is complimenting a Ferengi named Nava on his takeover of the Arcbite mining refineries in the Clarius system, but points out that the reputation of the Ferengi is making it more and more difficult to do business in the Alpha Quadrant. Mm-hmm. He then proposes the Gamma Quadrant as the future of the Ferengi, where, quote, their word could be their bond until they chose to break it. And this is where, like, the anti-Semitism really, like, kind of, like, oh, we're greedy and untrustworthy and we love money and...
Well, that is interesting because, like, anti-Semitism, while being a form of, like, racial bigotry, is very much a political force. And so it's very much about this idea of, like, creating a political other as a scapegoat. And so the idea of reputation is inherently integrated with that idea, right? The idea that like this entire ethnic group has been given this reputation that makes it easy for us to blame everything that goes wrong on them and turn them into sort of our political scapegoat. And so, yeah, I do wish that this was an idea that I felt was engaged with more responsibly by the writers. And I almost think that what that could look like is just showing us more that the Ferengi aren't this monolith that they're sometimes perceived to be. Like, I do kind of think it's okay, and obviously, you know, demure to any Jewish folks who disagree with this, but I kind of feel like it's okay for Zek and the, like, Ferengi business leadership to sort of embody these less than desirable traits as long as they're not the only thing that we see of this culture, right? Because I mean, even like you could draw a comparison, not that I think like all of the political components of this are relevant here by any means, but you could draw a comparison between Zek and someone like Netanyahu, where it's like, oh, you are the absolute worst of this culture and these ideas, right? But there's more than that. And if we got more than that...
That's the thing. We don't get more than that.
And I think particularly that would have been interesting where it's like you have Quark and Rom are part of the Ferengi diaspora, right? They don't live on Ferenginar. They don't live in Israel, if we were to continue this like very choppy, ham-fisted metaphor. And so that would have been a moment to like take, like Nog would be a great character to engage with that with. And they like do a little bit, I guess, in this episode, but it's framed more as like the young generation shaking off the cultural orthodoxies of the previous generation rather than like, not all Ferengi are money-grubbing Jewish stereotypes. Like...
And I mean, this is the first Ferengi episode. We see development for some of the Ferengi later on in the show.
Yes,
we'll talk about that more.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it just like we are saying, we are not the most qualified people to talk about this. It just sits weird with me, and I think that is completely fair, and I think it would be irresponsible of us to discuss an episode like this without bringing it up. I just wish that there was something that felt more definitive that we could land on. It's just like a very messy, sticky sort of thing, and I don't personally feel like it detracts from my enjoyment of some of the moments that really work with these characters, but like, I'm not the person to worry about that with, you know, so it's tricky. It's tricky.
I also just noted about this moment that it feels interesting, the fact that Zek needs to say that, you know, this is a reputation the Ferengi have that has been tainted by the lies of our competitors, because obviously the main difference between the Jewish people and the Ferengi people is that the vile like stereotypes about the Ferengi are mostly true.
Yeah.
In a way that they're obviously not about Jewish people, which is like interesting.
Yeah, like you are like this, oh, our reputation precedes us, and it's like that reputation is apparently fully deserved.
Not only fully deserved, but something that you are proud of.
You're like
they
this
have
is
the
our
moment
culture.
where they have the moment where they're like, you know, our word can be our bond until we choose to break it. Like, and so why the front?
Yeah.
What I don't.
It's odd.
It almost speaks to something that I don't have like a fully formed thought about this yet, but like political systems that are built on fascist ideologies. I mean, you look at the Trump administration, which is like one of the most nakedly fascist parts of the American apparatus we've gotten in a long time, and still they feel the need to pretend that they're doing altruistic things that like no one buys, they don't buy. Like the deception is so thin, and yet it's still there. And so I don't know that I have a why to offer up necessarily, but I imagine that the reasons are similar. You know?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So rather than lead the venture to the Gamma Quadrant himself, claiming that he is just not as greedy as he used to be, Zek informs the assembled group that the new Grand Nagus is Quark.
Dun, dun, dun!
The other Ferengi complain loudly. They storm out of the bar. Zek congratulates Quark on his new job, commenting that he is sure he will do great, and Quark laughs in disbelief.
I just fucking love the look on Quark's face here. This is such a strong episode for Armin Shimmerman. He has so many little great beats, but he sort of is grabbing his ear and giving it this oh, well.
If the Grand Nagus says so.
If the scepter fits. It's really good.
Yeah, he's excellent throughout this episode.
So then, over breakfast in their quarters, Benjamin and Jake Sisko are discussing Nog being pulled out of school. And I just had a little note. What is it with these people and oatmeal?
I knew you were going to say something about
There's
the
so
oatmeal.
much oatmeal. I don't know if it's oatmeal is the most morally righteous breakfast that you can eat in space. And so that's what we do. But
I mean, if we're in the sort of, cornflake school of thought that,
no animals were harmed in the making of this oatmeal.
Oh, no, I was thinking more you have to have bland food so you don't get horny.
Oh.
That whole thing.
What?
Oh, have we not? Oh,
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Sorry.
Okay, so the inventor of cornflakes, not Rice Krispies, was part of this school of thought in the early 1900s in America that the source of degenerative behavior, libidinousness was all these spices and crazy taste that all the immigrants were bringing in.
That's wild.
And you had to eat very bland food in order to just not go crazy horny balls all the time.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So cornflakes were one of the things.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's psychotic, but that's so interesting now in the context of this episode where that is very actively something that is being discussed, right? Where Benjamin is these fucking Ferengi are making my son libidinous.
Of course, it was Kellogg, John Harvey Kellogg.
Oh,
Kellogg's
okay.
cornflakes.
Yeah. Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, that was...
So Jake has to eat his oatmeal in order to be a good boy, and if he doesn't, he's going to go off and do Ferengi sex crimes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, eat your oatmeal, Jake. Wow.
The depths oatmeal has that we didn't even know about.
Clearly. So Jake points out to Ben the unfairness of the whole situation, that Nog can't even read, that he deserves to be able to be in school. And he complains that school just isn't going to be as much fun without his best friend. Ben tries to assure Jake that they could still get together after school, but Jake says he's worried that Nog doesn't want to be friends with him anymore because humans and Ferengis just don't get along.
I really like how Ben asks if Jake wants to talk about it. He could have just been barging in or not engaging because it's about Nog and he doesn't like Nog. It's very invitational. Do you want to talk about it?
Good fucking parenting. Yeah. And so Sisko agrees with him. It's often hard for their two species to get along. And when Jake pushes back, saying that Ben is the one who's always telling him they should make friends with other cultures, Ben admits that human and Ferengi values are very different and that makes that hard. Ben then suggests that he and Jake play a little baseball after school that day, but Jake says that he has something else he needs to do.
Baseball fixes everything, though. Yeah, so Jake has a great line here where he's like, you're the one always saying we should get along with other cultures, and kind of pushing back on Ben and being like, yeah, they're different, but that doesn't mean we can't, get along.
And I love Ben's response where he says, I believe that, and I love that you believe it too. Where it's they're having a real conversation about something difficult. It's not black and white. And the more that they have a real conversation about it, the less I think Ben is looking at it the way he was originally, which was a little black and white.
Yeah, I think Ben's own prejudice is coming in here. All Ferengi are the same. We haven't found any common values, yet. Therefore, it's not possible that we can.
Yeah.
Kind of writing off the Ferengi.
It's sort of a strange way for him to be talking about this whole thing. There's no room for individualism or individuals who exist outside of their cultural norm, which again sort of harkens back to the discussion we were having about the Ferengi and the idea of them as this cultural monolith that harkens back to anti-Semitism pragmatism. And I wonder if this view is sort of a natural byproduct of this like big picture approach that Starfleet officers are kind of forced to take to the galaxy, where like they view people as species. It's very Romulans are shifty and plotty, Klingons are warriors and honor, you know, and all of that. And it's tricky because of the way that the show is written. They're not exactly wrong a lot of the time, but it is a little problematic, you know, and something that I wish we could spend more time investigating.
Yeah. But back to the Ferengi. On the promenade, Grand Nagus Quark and
so weird.
Rom are walking along when Graal approaches and formally introduces himself as Quark's new best friend.
Armin Shimmerman's body language here as they're walking down the promenade so fucking good. The way he has like holds his head up like an invisible string is coming out of it. Like he's so full of himself in this moment. He is Snow White at the Disneyland parade.
I would counter that and say he's like the evil queen.
Oh, yes.
Like serving cunt. Like
100%. He even has the purple cape.
He does have the purple cape.
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. Good note. Good at it.
And Graal offers to, quote, protect Quark from those who are jealous of his position. If only Quark would be grateful enough to allow Graal his pick of the more profitable opportunities in the Gamma Quadrant. When Quark asks what would happen were he to refuse such a generous offer, Graal simply replies, "You won't," driving home the threat.
Yeah.
And I want to put a sticky note on this moment, and I'll come back
to later. Okay. So Quark rushes into Rom's quarters to see Zek, begging him for advice on what to do about Graal threatening his life. And I just love how completely unbothered by any of this Zek is.
He's like, I'm out.
He's like looking on Zillow for like Airbnbs on Ryza, and he's like, yeah, he's not only gonna be the first one.
Yeah. Zek says, like, more threats are going to follow. In order to survive, you need to surround yourself with loyal men, but not too loyal.
Not too loyal.
And that he should be ruthless. Then, suddenly, without warning, Zek's head slumps onto his chest, and Fiona Shaw checks him, but Zek is dead.
That was wild. He just, like, drops dead right there.
Quite literally. And also, I love that Quark's immediate reaction is, I didn't do anything. Just great character moment for Quark. Yeah. Just the immediate defensiveness. Like, this wasn't my fault.
It tells you so much about his character, but also about his history, because it's like, I don't think he's just assuming people are going to think it's his fault in a vacuum. It's like, usually it's your fault, buddy.
It's your fault. Yeah, exactly.
So then we cut to a private funeral service held at Quark's, where Krax is selling small discs containing Zek's vacuum-desiccated remains. Quark asks Rom to be his bodyguard because Rom is his closest associate, friend, and brother. Rom expresses his dismay, hoping that he could take over the bar, at which Quark bursts into a very cruel laughter. Yes. And I love Rom's little like shakes of anger here. It's a really good physical acting moment. He's just like so upset and humiliated that he physically has to leave the room.
There's a funeral like portrait of Grand Nagus Zek, and it's so funny to me that like they threw that together like so quickly. It reminds me of like, you know, The Great Mouse Detective, and Radigan has like a portrait of himself in it. It's giving that to me.
I should rewatch that movie.
It's a great one. It's a great one.
I also, something I didn't have in my notes, which I'm just thinking about this time now for the first time. You're holding the funeral for the Ferengi head of state in this dive bar at the corner of the galaxy. Like, shouldn't he go back and like be interred in state on Ferenginar and have like a 21, or a 21 spreadsheet salute or whatever is the equivalent?
Fire, click, click, click.
All right, whatever. And the funeral is then crashed by Odo, who has questions to ask about Zek's death. And the moment that he comes in, Quark is still laughing at Rob, and he has this, not exactly overcome by grief, are we? And it's really good.
It's so good. And he literally appears like out of nowhere right behind Quark. And it's like, he's right behind me, isn't he?
And buddy, he's always right behind you.
So true. So true. But Krax insists that there's nothing suspicious about his father's death. He died from a massive infection of the tympanic membrane, a chronic condition.
All about the ears.
All about the ears, baby. Odo wants to have Dr. Bashir examine the body, but of course the body has already been vacuum desiccated for sale. And it's so funny. They explain it to Odo, you know, vacuum desiccated and sold as a prize collectible, and just completely deadpan. How touching. It's so funny. I love Renee Auberjonois.
Yeah.
Wow. I just butchered that so bad. That's okay.
Renee Aubergine stew. Yeah. So out on the promenade, Jake and Nog are sitting at their usual spot, but neither says a word. They both try to speak for a moment, but they interrupt each other and end up giving up. After a second, Jake sort of bemoans that he guesses humans and Ferengis just don't have much to talk about. But after a second, he also points out that they always used to have things to talk about. What the fuck's going on? And considering this, the boys agree that they should continue their friendship, despite the fact that it will probably upset both of their fathers.
I love that they both showed up to watch the, like, arc reactor anti-grav tractor or whatever it was.
The arc reactor is the thing in Iron Man's chest, but yes.
You know what
sure,
I mean.
Why not? Yeah. And this note that you made here about overcoming your parents' racism, shades of Romeo and Juliet. I was like, yes, they are the star-crossed lovers on this bridge today. That's really good.
In Deep Space Nine, where we lay our scene.
Their relationship is just so romantic, and I really like it.
It's very cute. Back in Quark's, Odo asks Quark what it'll mean now that he's become Grand Nagus, and Quark says it means that Odo should show respect by kissing his scepter, which gets a characteristic scoff from Odo as he leaves. And, like, once again, it's not sexual.
Kiss the scepter,
and he like puts it in Odo's face.
Just then, a gold coin rolls across the floor and Quark steps on it. Glancing around to ensure that no one is watching him, Quark bends over to pick up the coin when something zips overhead and explodes against the wall behind him. An obvious attempt on his life. And I really thought that the coin was going to be the trap here.
Same.
Like, very Homer Simpson. Oh, piece of candy. Oh, piece of candy. Like, yeah, if you want to get Quark into a trap, roll some money past him. And so then the coin just rolling by ends up being wildly fucking convenient.
It's just for the plot.
Yeah, I guess so. I also think that it's really funny that he's the literal actual Grand Nagus and he's still sneaky stealing coins off the floor. Like, you can take the man out of the bar, but you can't take the bar out of the man.
So true, bestie. Later, O'Brien, Odo, and Sisko have arrived in Quark's to investigate the explosion, CSI Deep Space Nine. Mm-hmm. O'Brien identifies traces of argine and sorium, two kinds of Ferengi explosives. O'Brien notes that the device seems to have been a, quote, Ferengi locator bomb, which is designed to lock onto a target's body odor.
I'm really surprised that the Ferengi have the technology, like the drive to develop technology that focused on anything that isn't like an abacus or like, but whatever.
Or Excel.
Yeah.
Well,
but, okay,
sometimes
locator
you gotta
bomb.
kill someone to make profit.
That's so true. That's a good point.
That's
you gotta
how
make
America
sure you
was made,
the
baby.
right person. Jesus fucking Christ. Not fucking wrong.
Anyway, if Quark hadn't bent over at the last minute, he would certainly have been killed. Just then, Julian arrives, informing the others that he's just finished examining Quark, and he's a little bit shaken up, but otherwise he's fine.
In the infirmary, Odo questions Quark, who chastises them for attempting to interfere with Ferengi affairs of state. And Odo has a line where he just goes, "When are you going to get it through your twisted little brain that we are trying to save your life?" And Odo is just getting so frustrated at his stupid boyfriend. Like, normally he wouldn't let something like this get to him in that way, but it's like, my guy, like, you actively are gonna die. I need you alive. This is my emotional support butthole. Anyways, Sisko tells Quark that the next time he encounters one of those locator bombs, he might not be so lucky, but Quark blows off his concern. Frustrated, Odo says that Quark must suspect someone, and Quark admits that Krax would stand to gain the most from his death.
There is a fucking hilarious moment here where Quark is like on the like medical bed, what are they called?
Biobed.
Mm-hmm. And Odo's on one side, Ben's on the other, and like Ben's all up in his face, and he calls him Quark.
Oh yeah, something Quark.
And Rob's like, Grand Nagus,
but he
Quark.
pops up like a fucking whack-a-mole.
It's so funny. It's great. And then Ben's face when he like bops out again, he's just like, these fucking Ferengi, I'm going to lose my shit.
Rom is so funny, and I'm so happy that getting through this episode means that we are getting to like the version of Deep Space Nine that includes Rom.
Yes.
He's one of my favorite characters.
He's so great.
I have to note, I get that it's not the point, but as someone whose nerdism also includes like governments and how they George Lucas wrote the trade disputes for me. And so why does Krax become Nagus if anything happens to Quark?
It's silly.
That doesn't make any fucking sense. That's like Zek got to choose his own successor, but if his successor dies, it reverts back to his son.
Maybe if Quark dies without naming a successor.
Then just name a successor. It doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
No, but then if you name your successor, then that person is going to want to kill you too. It's like why the Egyptian...
But the person he would pick is Rom, who already, spoilers, is trying to kill him.
But he doesn't know that.
Yeah, I guess.
Anyway, it's silly. It doesn't make sense.
It's very silly.
It's fine. Rom reminds him, Quark, that Graal was the one who threatened him, but Quark says that neither Ferengi could have set the bomb because they were both at the funeral at the time.
I think that Quark's small-time crimes brain is really not benefiting him here because it's like most people who are trying to have someone killed have someone to do that for them. They're not...
Which Ben immediately points out. He's like, they could have an accomplice. This is a thing that people have.
Odo then asks about Fiona Shaw, and Quark realizes that she was conspicuously absent from the funeral, and that her species is renowned for their devotion to their employers, so it's very, very strange that she would not have been there.
Sus as hell.
Back in the Cisco's quarters, Jake is preparing to leave for school when Benjamin asks him about why he got home so late the previous night. Jake tells him that he was with Nog, not doing anything wrong, but, you know, it's private. And frustrated, Ben tells Jake to be home in time for dinner and lets him go.
Ben's like, Avery breaks his delivery of what kind of stuff?
Private stuff with Nog! It's just, the we weren't doing anything wrong. It's just like, it's not like we were having gay sex like everyone else on this station.
And when Jake says we weren't doing anything wrong, Ben's like, good, then you can tell me all about it. And like sits down expectantly. It's so great. It's so hard to be a single parent. Yeah. Ben is struggling.
And I really loved the way that Ben said private here, where it's just like, as I said, don't have kids. But from what I've heard from parents, and especially parents of teenagers, this is such a tricky transition to navigate, where you've basically been fully part of your child's entire life. And then suddenly they hit teenagedom, and there are things that they don't want you to be part of. And in fact, developmentally need you to not be part of. And that can be a very difficult transition for parents to accept, where it's like, if you weren't doing something wrong, why the fuck would you not want to tell me about it? This idea that suddenly now there is a third category. It's not just like doing normal stuff that is fine or doing something wrong that you know you're not supposed to do. There can also be doing things that are fine, but I just don't want to tell you about it. And like, you kind of have to be okay with that.
It's a very difficult transition for parent and child.
I just really liked that little moment.
Yeah.
In Quark's quarters, the new Nagus meets with Nava, who wants Quark's blessing to pursue profit in a new field, the introduction of synthahol to the Gamma Quadrant. Quark points out that Nava was not happy with his ascension to Nagus and accuses him of only pretending to offer respect in exchange for this opportunity. Nava quickly offers to split the profits with Quark 50-50, and Quark agrees.
This whole scene is a send-up of the start of The Godfather, which I don't know if I've told you, Jamie, but is one of my favorite movies.
I did not know that about you. Yeah, I saw when you noted that. I was like, oh, I never would have thought of that. I've only seen it like once.
So my mom and I used to watch it probably
really
before
cute.
I should have, because I was like a kid
Well,
and I watched The
yeah,
Godfather. Yeah. It's fine. So that's a movie that my mom and I will like send each other quotes and do entire scenes from it.
Stop it. That's
because we've
adorable.
seen it so many times. Like,
oh my
the
God.
backup of like, do we want to do something? Is like, you want to watch The Godfather? And the answer is like always yes. So I love The Godfather. I think it's a phenomenal film.
That's incredible. We should watch it together at some point because I haven't watched it. I think my dad showed it to me once when I was in like high school.
Yeah, it's so good. But this whole scene, like the blinds behind Quark, the shot over his shoulder to Nava, the animal that he's like stroking.
What is this gross little hairy worm? It is never seen again. But yeah, he has like a little like salacious crumb of his very own in this scene.
Yeah, because in the original film, Marlon Brando has a cat.
Is that where Dr. Evil gets it from? Is that like, is it a Godfather reference?
I think there's also some Bond villains who have like cats.
Okay.
Fun fact about the Godfather cat. That cat was just like a stray that was around the set that day. And Marlon Brando was like, I'm going to pick up this cat. And it became part of the scene.
Like an incredibly iconic part of the scene. That's so funny. That's very the Nagus being like, he just had these great instincts. You couldn't have known. Marlon Brando.
That's acting, baby.
Truly.
And like the line, like, yet now you call me Nagus, like in The Godfather. You do not even think to call me Godfather. Like,
I like that voice. That was good.
You. That's my Marlon Brando Godfather impression. And
see, to me, Marlon Brando is just like in a spangly space outfit on Krypton right before it explodes. That's my point of reference.
That's fair. And also coming back to my sticky note, Quark says, and if I refuse this offer, and Growl says, you won't. And of course, the iconic line from The Godfather is, I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Yeah. Oh,
so I
funny.
just film nerded out about this, like, shot for shot.
In the same way that you can tell the makers of this episode were film nerding out.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
it's a loving reference in a way that is fun.
And actually, the original concept for this episode was a Godfather type.
Oh, really?
Thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
It really evolved from that, and this is kind of the one part that's like left of it. But when I was looking up like behind the scenes stuff, that was mentioned.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. So Quark, tired of being the Godfather from Ferengi, heads to the bar to count the day's take and leaves Krax and Rom behind. Krax tells Rom that his brother is going to become very popular with the way that he's handing out such prime opportunities, so they need to come up with a new plan fast. Something more reliable than a locator bomb.
Dun, dun, dun! Although not really, because I already kind of told you that. Sorry.
It's fine. In the episode.
Theoretically, you guys have watched the episode. So then we cut to the Cisco's quarters, where Ben sits alone at the dinner table, angrily throwing a baseball into his gloved hand as dinner for two cools on the table. And the angry baseball tossing is like incredibly funny to me.
For everything. It's when you're happy. It's when you're sad.
He's
it's when
just
you're
like
angry.
having some big grumpy feelings, and he needs to toss the ball about it.
Dax enters, telling Ben she was here to see if he wanted to play a round of Jorkarian chess, but that she can see he's just sitting down for dinner. Ben tells Dax that he's been waiting for Jake for half an hour, and she says that he must be off with Nog. And I just love the way Dax comes in and like flips the dining chair around and like sits on it like a youth pastor, like, you know who else had a difficult father-son relationship?
That's so funny, too, because Dax would be the best youth pastor and the person least likely to become one, all rolled up in one. So Dax suggests that from her experience, having been a mother 3 times and a father twice, it's time for Benjamin to have a talk with Jake about boundaries with Nog. Dax tells Ben to feel free to ignore her advice, as she was never a particularly successful parent, but that if she were Jake's father, she would find him and bring him home to eat his dinner, which, I just feel as if this is truly the conversations that boomer parents have with each other, where they're like, well, I was a terrible parent. Here's what I did. And they're like, wow, what a great advice. Let me fucking do that.
Like, she's very correct. She was not good at this.
And I do like that Dax's advice here is not good. And she is correct that she's not good at this.
Anyway, here's my advice, though I am admitting directly to you, I'm not good at this.
And so Cisco locates Jake in one of the cargo bays using the computer and heads off, thanking Dax for the advice. And as he leaves, Dax takes a bowl of Ben's aubergine stew for herself.
She's like, I'm here. Might as
to the
well.
point where I'm kind of like, did you just send him to go get Jake so that you could make yourself a plate and not have to deal with
Dax
it?
said, I want in on that stew, baby. Arriving in the cargo bay, Ben hears Jake and Nog's voices ahead and quietly makes his way inside the crowded bay. When Ben finally sees Jake and Nog, he stops and watches, and he realizes that his son is teaching Nog to read.
Say the thing in SpongeBob where it's like Squidward has the donkey because he feels like a because he. I thought you. Oh, jeez. Fine. I'll cut it.
Wait, you've explained this moment to me before, and I still don't remember it.
It's like I feel like and then the donkey goes because he's been assuming that they've been off having gay sex, and he's just teaching him how to read. And having gay sex.
Yes. But that's secondary. Anyway, after a moment of watching the two of them unnoticed, Ben leaves. And it's so sweet. It's such a sweet moment. Like, Nog's really excited when he gets it right, and so is Jake.
It's really
Side note,
cute.
It doesn't really make sense that Ferengi don't learn to read when they clearly use, in this episode, like, mini sort of pads.
Yeah.
Like, do you not read business agreements and contracts? Are these not written documents?
Yeah, I wondered, do the Ferengi not learn to read, or perhaps simply Nog did not learn to read? Like, I would believe that Rom just never taught him that.
I would believe that Rom doesn't know how to read.
Yes, 100%. And I also think maybe if you really wanted to, you could be like, well, he's teaching him how to read, like, Federation Standard or whatever, and, like, he knows how to read Ferengi. Yeah, but it's a weak explanation.
But it's cute.
Yeah, this is a very 1990s, very special episode of TV kind of moment, right? Like very sitcom-y in that way. And so in Quark's quarters, Rom is helping Quark to finish getting dressed, and it's just a very fun little bait and switch where it looks like he's choking him to death, but he's just helping him get the collar of his shirt on. I love that. And Quark says that he is looking forward to his first trip through the wormhole, but finds it odd that Zek never mentioned he'd already started business negotiations with one of the Gamma Quadrant races. Very funny that Quark hasn't been through the wormhole yet. Just early days.
Yeah. So Rom begins to ask about the bar again, commenting that Quark has so much while he has so little. Quark interrupts and says that's exactly how things are meant to be.
Signed your death warrant, you dumb little bitch. Like, yes, push him, Rom. Come on.
We are on Rom's side.
That sucks. He's so mean to Rom.
Rom deserves better, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
On the promenade, Fiona Shaw can be seen walking to an airlock, secretly observed by Odo. Quark and Rom walk down the hall, having been joined by Cracks.
Quark, unfortunately, really does look good in the Nagus regalia. Like, it suits him.
It's a good look.
You could see this being a job where it's like, you're not ready for it yet, but maybe one day.
And as they pass Quark suggests bringing a Dabo girl along to the Gamma Quadrant to add to his prestige. But Rom and Cracks trip all over themselves, telling him that's not necessary. You're imposing enough.
Yeah. And so at the docking ring, Odo follows Fiona Shaw through the airlock using his goo form to squeeze through the cracks.
Detective Goo is on the case.
Yeah, he definitely is. But the whole point of an airlock is that it is airtight and that there are, by definition, no cracks.
Well,
so,
airtight is not necessarily goo tight.
Isn't it?
I don't know. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
I will say you could explain it by being like, if he really is shape-shifting on, like, the molecular level, maybe he's, like, shrinking down to the size of an atom and going
arguably.
through. But
because oxygen it's an element? I don't actually know. I never took chemistry.
Yeah, it's on the periodic table.
It's a molecule, right?
Sure. You think I'm the one to...
Molecules are made of atoms, I think.
And goo is made of molecules.
Yeah.
So, TLDR, there you go. Anyways.
We're gay and we can't do science.
Arriving at the airlock of the Ferengi ship, Crack steps aside and allows Quark to make a regal entrance, only to find that there is no ship waiting for him at the other side of this airlock. Behind him, the airlock doors slide shut with Rom and Cracks on the other side. Quark begins to panic, ordering Cracks and Rom to open the door, but Cracks only smiles and tells Quark that he has been voted out of office.
And it's Quark groveling time, baby.
Oh boy, it is.
Quark pleads with Rom, who only reminds him of his own threats to throw Rom out the airlock, and tells him he looks forward to renaming the bar Rom's.
Rom really deserves this moment, man. Like, not necessarily to kill Quark, but to at least make him think he's going to, which... I do think is really maybe on some level all he wants to do, because he's awfully hesitant to push that button.
Like, watching it, I was like, I don't think he could do it.
Yeah.
I don't think he could.
But he is saved from having to make that choice because just as they are about to open the airlock, Zek appears alongside Fiona Shaw and Odo and demands that they release Quark. Both Cracks and Rom are stunned, and Odo lets Quark out of the airlock.
Zek explains that he had entered a Dolbargi sleeping trance taught to him by Fiona Shaw to fake his death and to test whether Cracks would be a worthy successor. A test he failed miserably.
You know, she's acted in movies all over the world. She's picked up a thing or two.
Cracks complains that he was about to grab power, but Zek explains that he's disappointed because you don't grab power, you accumulate it quietly without anyone noticing.
That was a good Zek. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's fair. This kid does not seem very smart. Just another dumb Nepo baby.
Tragic.
So Zek believed that Cracks could simply have bided his time at Quark's bar, which served as a prime location for quietly gathering information on the Gamma Quadrant from those who passed through. Only once the Gamma Quadrant operations were up and running should Cracks have taken the throne from Quark.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Very sneaky. Very Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it was.
And Zek has a great line just talking about like trying to teach Cracks about this kind of stuff. He's like, it's like talking to a Klingon.
Yeah. You know, I don't know how I didn't put this together until right now. I guess maybe because Quark's role was so much more foregrounded. But this episode really is about fathers and sons.
Zek and Cracks, as well as Jake and Ben.
Yeah, and Rom and Nog.
And Rom and
all
Nog,
of these different little, and really only Ben is the only one that's good at it. Yeah, but it also shows that's like you can be good at it and it's still gonna be rough. No matter what,
true.
fathers and sons, it's rough. But you can at least
it's gonna be rough.
Try to be good.
If you're Ben Sisko, everybody else is essentially fucked.
And that's the moral. So back in the bar, Quark returns Zek's staff to him, which again, it's like, Quark, don't give that back.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. And Zek mentions forlornly that he had been looking forward to retirement. Zek compliments Quark then, telling him he's done an excellent job with the bar, but quickly jokes that he might return someday to buy it from him.
That's a really good Zek, too.
Oh,
also, I didn't say, but I fucking love Zek's laugh.
Oh, it's so good.
So good. I love Wallace Shawn so much. So Rom is trying to like sneak past Quark, but Quark grabs him and confronts him about nearly launching him out of an airlock. But he surprises Rom by telling him how proud he was of this show of treachery.
I don't know what else we expected.
And promotes him to the made-up job of assistant manager for policy and clientele.
Assistant to the regional manager.
Literally, same energy. It's a great moment.
Out on the promenade, Jake and Nog agree to make up again at the end of Jake's next school
meet up
day.
again.
What did I say?
You said make up again.
Oh, well.
Make out again.
There you go. They agree to meet up again at the end of Jake's next school day. Ben steps out of the Replimat and calls Jake over to give him a hug and a kiss on the head before sending him off to spend time with Nog.
It's also great because before they decide to meet up again, both of them do the like awooga eyes at this Vulcan woman
foxy
going
Vulcan
by.
lady.
And I'm like, same, boys, same.
I do think we'll probably have other opportunities to talk about this, but there's not a lot of Vulcans in Deep Space Nine, so I just want to mention this now.
Tragic.
I think the sexualization of Vulcan women is interesting, mostly interesting derogatory, although obviously, like, I know that you are just like awooga about literally everyone, but this thing with Vulcans where it almost feels like it's this, like, I can break her, like kind of thing. Yeah, like this kind of like I can get her to like experience an emotion, which is like a kind of prurient and fucked up. And like, I don't think it's like that deep in this moment, but it's just something that I've noticed when Vulcan female characters show up. And I'm like, ugh, like, can we not, please?
That's fair.
And it's like also just the 90s. So like every time a woman shows up, there's some kind of like
not great
sexual thing about her. Yeah, but I just like this reminded me of that. But also, ultimately, most important thing about this ending is that Ben is a good dad.
He is, and he kisses Jake on the forehead, and Jake's kind of like, Dad.
Yeah, but it's so fucking cute.
It's very sweet.
And then we roll the credits.
Roll credits,
we
baby.
are done on this very weird episode.
Let's dig into it.
Yeah, let's head straight into our final analysis. What did you think? We already started to sort of like talk about your perspective on the Ferengi at the opening, but now that we've gone through it all, I would love to hear your takes.
Yeah, this is our first fully Ferengi-centric episode.
Yes, it is.
Some fans love the Ferengi episodes, and I, more power to them. I'm glad they enjoy it, but I do, despite the fact that there's several moments that are very good, I'm just like, I do always love Armin Shimmerman getting to shine.
Yes.
His comedic timing is just gold.
One of the funniest actors
Max Grodenchik's, honestly, as well. As an episode of television, like plot, etc., I think it works okay.
Okay.
It is kind of like question mark that Nagus picks Quark, that Zek picks Quark as the next Nagus. And I was going to say it's kind of like a disservice to Quark that he doesn't realize it's a plot.
That
or
there's
like
something more going on here, yeah.
But I guess the idea is like he's so greedy that his eyes just go like comedic dollar signs and he doesn't ask questions about it.
I think it is a characterizing moment in that way because that is like a fundamental flaw of his, right? Where he is not good at looking a gift horse in the mouth when he should. Yeah.
He would let a wooden horse right into Quark. He would learn nothing.
He would turn it into an attraction. Ride the fucking wooden horse, but a little latinum slot. So I think that's a very good note. I think generally this episode is a lot of fun. I think that all of the criticisms of it are fair. I'm not gonna like defend it against someone that has something serious to say about it, but I think it fills a similar role as some of the sort of like filler show content that we discussed last week with Move Along Home. But I think this one works a lot better structurally. It's consistently funny and goofy in a way that I think works. Wallace Shawn as the Nagus is excellent. And it's a fun building out of the Ferengi lore, which up until this point was pretty non-existent. Like when we get them introduced in TNG, they're very, very different. Like this simply doesn't mesh with that version of it. And so we have to kind of do a soft retcon in this episode about like what Ferengi society looks like. And I think to some extent, it works well. It's like you can like say, I get why Quark is the way he is, looking at like who the people are that like set the expectations for their culture, right?
Yeah.
I think ultimately, the key to a good Ferengi episode is that the Ferengi, need to look really ridiculous. Like, the Ferengi are themselves sort of a parody of the absurdities of human greed and capitalism. And so the meta story has to be about how ridiculous their society is in order for that satire to land. And I think that this episode does a pretty good job of that.
It does do that.
Even the totally arbitrary and nonsensical rules of the Nagus succession, I think, speaks to the silly nonsense that is the Ferengi Alliance.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, I guess this bartender's fucking in charge now. Whoops. Yep. Now we have to go Godfather, reenact the Godfather with him in his darkened room.
What are you gonna do?
Oh, what a silly Thursday in Ferengi civilization. I just think, too, that another thing that really works in this episode that I would be remiss without giving, its laurels is the fact that it's centered around Quark. I mean, we get Armin Shimmerman as a leading player for the first time in this episode, and he just absolutely shines in this role. Quark is so often a supporting character, and I think in that way is like a load-bearing beam of the show in a way that you don't appreciate necessarily. But in this episode, he really gets a chance to shine. And I think it's just easy to forget that Armin is one of the most talented members of this cast, and that when he's allowed to run with it, his portrayal of Quark is one of the most interesting and nuanced performances on the series. So just 10 out of 10 Armin Shimmerman here. If nothing else, I'm glad we got this episode for that performance,
So a little behind the scenes for us here. Ira Stephen Bear shared that the Nagus' title is inspired by Negus, the word for king or leader, which comes from an Iron Age kingdom that existed in what is now Ethiopia.
That's cool. That does make me think about the thing we were talking about earlier, though, about how it's just unfortunately way too close to the plural of the N-word. And that's even closer. And I was just like, ooh, as we read, I kept being worried someone was going to accidentally say it. And then I'm like, oh, this is TV. They would have edited it out if that happened. But the rules of acquisition, as you said, are mentioned for the first time in this episode, and the two rules that are mentioned are the first, which is once you have the money, you never give it back, which I don't know why I sounded like Dracula in my head, but that's just what it is now.
Russian with that?
And the sixth, which is never let family stand in the way of opportunity.
I mean, funnily enough, Grodenchik is a Russian name, so
there you go.
Maybe Rom has a little Russian in him.
I could see that.
So speaking of Armin Shimmerman, he shared that the Nagus was an interesting episode, but also nerve-wracking because it was the first episode where they told him, okay, you're going to shoulder this. Everybody else can go home.
Yeah.
And it was his responsibility to make the episode work. Suddenly, I was the key member doing the work.
I feel like that must have been a really exciting moment, but also really daunting. Because, I mean, Armin Shimmerman's career history is a lot of stage and a lot of character work, stuff like that. I mean, folks, I feel like there's probably a similar overlap here of fans with Star Trek and Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I was going to say Buffy, yeah.
He's known as Principal Snyder on that, which is a very small but funny part. Yeah. And so that's his bag usually. And getting to be the lead here must have been daunting. Yeah, absolutely.
And this is where, the Ferengi episode, Quark Gets Audited, Fun with Ferengi, begins. And they weren't sure if it was going to be popular with audiences.
Oh, interesting.
But it was. So they continued this kind of episode.
That makes sense to me. It feels like it's a very 90s style of comedy. I mean, you got Wallace Shawn, right? That's classic. They are tapping into the zeitgeist of the moment in a way that I am not surprised worked really well ratings wise. And last thing we have for our behind the scenes today is just a little fun fact is that when Quark tells the joke in the bar, we see Morn laughing in this episode, and he will never open his mouth again throughout the series,
so
which
good.
Is such a funny little note. I loved that you listed that.
I loved that. I was like, fucking Morn. I love it.
That's so good. And there's this ongoing joke about how Morn is so talkative. He never shuts the fuck up. And so it's just great that literally he's not even equipped to open his mouth.
There's also actually a moment in this episode that we didn't include in our recap, but as the conference is starting, Morn is outside the doors of
I think
Quark's.
We talked about that.
I don't think we did.
Well, we'll see. The listeners tell us because we don't remember.
we'll find out in
when we listen to it.
9 weeks when we air this episode. And he's like, and Quark's like, shoot, go late, we're close.
Like a cat, like a stray cat.
It's great.
All right, next up for final analysis, we're going to head into our design corner where we talk about the set, costume, sound, overall production design of the episode, and highlight the artists involved.
I wanted to, just because this is our first very Ferengi-heavy episode, talk about the Ferengi makeup and talk about Michael Westmore, who is kind of the father of that makeup. 9-time Emmy winner, Oscar winner.
Hugely successful guy.
Successful.
And he clearly has earned it.
Yeah, like he worked on, his introduction to Star Trek was TNG. So he
designed the makeup for TNG. Was that when the Ferengi first showed up there?
Yes. So TNG was actually his first TV show. He had only done film.
That's wild.
Yeah. So he then ended up working on TNG, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. And
what a career.
He also designed the Cardassian makeup as well as the Jem'Hadar, more iconic makeup looks from DS9.
You don't know what that is yet, but you'll find out.
Comes from a family of makeup artists. His grandfather created the first studio makeup department in
No
1917,
way.
and his father did the makeup for Gone with the Wind.
That's very cool. Also in keeping with our Nepo Baby theme
I was gonna
for this
say,
episode.
we got the Nepo Baby vibes.
I wonder if if his father was originally succeeded by someone random and he had to kill him in order to get the job.
And speaking of Wallace Shawn and
which we
the makeup,
always love to
always
be.
want to do, he described the makeup process as a little disturbing and uncomfortable and exhausting.
Yeah,
It
I
took
could see that.
3 hours to put on the makeup. He would be wearing it for a long time, but he said that he really appreciated the results and it really liberated him in a way that he had never experienced before or since. He felt just like completely free. It was this really joyful experience.
That's so cool.
Isn't that so fun?
Yeah, I have always wanted, as someone who acts who has acted but has never done anything like with prosthetics or anything like that, I wondered about that idea of like, is there something freeing about putting on like a mask, right? And
Quite
like,
literally,
really letting yourself be subsumed by the character, and that's a very cool account of that to get. I also like that you just noted in here that he said he wouldn't have wanted to do it more than once a year, but he appreciated the results. I'm like, so fair, King.
So fair, Wallace.
I thought there were just so many good little pieces of design work in this episode. One that stood out to me is the Nagus' scepter, which we will see again, small spoilers, throughout the series a couple times, but I just think it does a really good job denoting the Nagus' status while also being kind of gaudy and a little bit silly.
As the
and
Ferengi are,
it's just perfectly fitting to what it was supposed to be, which is exactly how you want to describe good costume and prop design, right?
And the Nagus' robes as well.
Yes, yeah, really cool looking. The Lazy Susan at dinner, I have it in all caps, Lazy Susan. It was just so good. What I think I love the most about it is how it implies cultural norms and rules to Ferengi dining, where it's sort of like buffet style rather than family style, and everyone is like eating from this Lazy Susan food tower where like all of the different items are on different parts of the tower and you spin it around and take what you want. And there was this line sort of where somebody sort of starts to move it and Zach's like, wait, I'm not done with the tube grubs. And it's like, so you wait for the most senior member to be done picking
the
what
pecking
he
order,
wanted
quite literally,
before it moves around. Yeah, I love when we get something that feels anthropological from design stuff. I'm just like, that's sick as fuck. And it was really cool here to get that. Lastly, I just think that the design of Mayhardu, which is the character that we were calling Fiona Shaw throughout this whole episode, is incredibly strong.
Yes.
The makeup is phenomenal. The costume is unique and striking. And maybe just one of my favorite details is the little streaks of purple that he has in his hair. It's like blink and you'll miss it. But if you look at it up close, it looks really cool.
It's so good. I love the hair.
So just a really, really strong design for that character. And I'm excited to see more of him in the future.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us to our outro. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode and our discussion of The Nagus.
We have one final segment left in today's episode, a little something we like to call Consulting the Orb of Prophecy, where we look ahead into the future of the series and discuss spoilers that relate to this week's episode.
If you've watched Deep Space Nine before, or you just don't mind spoilers, stick around after we sign off for that discussion. If you're watching along with us for the first time, or just don't want to be spoiled for future episodes, you're going to want to hop off after the sign-off.
The Star Trek Deep Space Nine Paramount cast is recorded in San Diego, California, and produced by us, as well as our Grand Nagus, Peter.
A big thanks to our friend of the show, Matt, who produced our theme music, and to Tumblr user at GrandCon221B, whose Star Trek pit crew was used to generate the avatars of us featured in the show's cover art.
New episodes drop every week on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
If you have any questions, comments, or would like to chat with us about Star Trek, you can email us at ds9cast@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky at ParamountCast for updates and the sweet, sweet memes.
Last but not least, if you're enjoying the show, please review and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other folks to find the show. And please join us next week for a discussion of Deep Space Nine, Season 1, Episode 11, Vortex.
Ooh, bye.
Bye. We'll see you next time. Hello and welcome to Consulting the Orb of Prophecy, a little segment where we step outside of our linear confines and travel along the non-linear metrics of the universe.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Which means spoilers. There's going to be spoilers.
Yeah, surprisingly devious ROM in this episode.
Yeah, for sure. It stands in contrast to what we will get later. Yes. Absolutely.
I have in my notes, like, he's nice progressive lib Ferengi. And, of course, he, ironically enough, becomes the one to, in their family, succeed Zach as Grand Nagus, which is a great little thing that probably wasn't planned, but
definitely, but is very
so
interesting in the light of this episode. Yeah, it almost feels like this episode is kind of setting that up in a way it never could have intended to.
It just worked out well.
It's funny you say devious. I always remember this episode as like, haha, wow, Rom is so out of character in season 1. Like, he is this, like, sort of more typical Ferengi in a way that we, won't get later. But actually, I kind of think he's more like what we will get from him later in this episode, or later in this show, than I expected.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that always, like, felt out of character for him is the murder attempt. But I think we need to consider sort of the extraordinary circumstances here where Rom always dreamed of taking over the bar, right? But never necessarily thought it would happen because, I mean, Quark was always going to be there.
Yeah.
And now Quark gets literally everything he's always wanted. And I think Rom thinks surely now he won't care about this bar.
Yeah.
And I can finally get what I've always wanted. And Quark's refusal of that, and moreover the way that he is so cruelly laughing at him in front of the whole bar, I think it kind of causes something to snap in Rom, like particularly when it comes to the relationship with Quark. But when it comes down to it, he still can't do it. He still can't push the button. And I think that's our Rom
that
right
is our
there.
Rom.
He is
100%.
like, oh, finally I've been pushed to the brink. Like, yeah, this guy's got to go, but actually, I can't be the one to do it. It's just not.
He's his brother at the end of the day, and he does love him.
So I wanted to note that. The other thing from future episodes that I was like, we got to get into this, is that Krax is never seen or even mentioned ever again after this episode, which is interesting, as we will see Zach many times again.
Once a
and
year.
obviously, we will eventually get Rom, of all people, as his successor to the office of Grand Nagus. So this is just especially weird given that Krax is Quark and Rom's eventual stepbrother, because
I didn't even think about that.
Zach is married to Moogie, or in a long-term relationship with Moogie. And so I unfortunately think we have to kind of take this to mean that Krax ultimately fell out of favor with the Nagus' court permanently. And I kind of wonder if Zach even left him alive after this.
I would not put it past Zach to be like, you are a disappointment as a son, get ganked.
Yeah, I don't know that he like specifically ganked him directly after this in response to it, but I think like they go back to Ferenginar and like are never really on good terms again.
It's the beginning of the fall.
And then it's like, well, for my successor, are there going to be issues naming someone else if I still have this living heir? Let's just get rid of that problem.
Yep.
So
nip that in the bud.
We don't know exactly what happens, but I would
fill in the blanks.
I am not surprised. That feels like very in character, and honestly could have been a Moogie suggestion.
I wouldn't put it past her.
Because also that position's like, that's
She's
extremely court drama as of like,
intrigue.
Now my sons are positioned as the heirs if your firstborn son is no longer around.
Suddenly out of the picture.
So.
And very Godfather.
Yeah, true.
Sometimes you got to think about.
I do always think it's interesting the way that like organized crime stories and organized crime like structures parallel feudalism and like royalism and stuff like that, where it's like they are more similar to each other than I think anyone wants to admit, and it's interesting to me.
It is.
All right,
that's it, bud.
Anything else for you for future blah 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 future?
I'm good to return to linear time. Thank you.
All right, then let's do it. We will see you guys back on the linear plane next week.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good one.